The reign of tech giants may be coming to a close. Oh, well, yeah, there's a road ahead before we arrive at that dream scenario, but a very important and, in fact, absolutely crucial step is being taken with this bill shown right here. It has recently made its way through the Senate Judicial Committee, which is a very important point because that is where it could have gotten tied up for a very long time, and it is now one step closer to becoming a proper Senate bill, which is a vital step, of course, to making it actual law at some point. And what it basically does is making it illegal for a major platform to unfairly preference the covered platform operator's own products, services, or lines of business over those of another business user or on the covered platform in a manner that would materially harm competitors on the covered platform. In other words, it is aiming to make it illegal for Google to say, well, we own this product, and so we are only going to show you the search result for this product, and the alternative product will be buried somewhere on page 3 or 4 where no one ever treads, son. And this is something that they've been alleged of doing already. There is a series of lawsuits that have been going on. Google unfairly hurt search rivals, new suit claims. States say the new lawsuit will be consolidated with a federal and state antitrust case filed in October. Mind you as well, this is a, what is it here? Google's unfairly hurt search rivals. This is a lawsuit. It is not necessarily that they're alleging that it is illegal, because, well, that's what this bill is trying to do. And without this kind of legal protection, there is no way for there to ever be a true competitor to YouTube. Now, I give the various competitor platforms a fair bit of flack, like BitChute and Rumble, because neither one of them are true competitors. I made this point before, that they need to stop being alternatives and start being competitors. Now, that is a very difficult road in and of itself that I've talked about at length previously, so you can look up the gatekeeping video I believe I did on that for me to elaborate it a bit further. However, if the primary search engine is Google, which it absolutely is, the majority of search results is owned by Google, then what can BitChute do, right? You've got the exact same video, it's on YouTube and it's on BitChute, but the YouTube video is the one that's going to be popping up. Always. Whilst the BitChute alternative is going to be buried somewhere on page 3 or 4. So YouTube wins, and there is nothing BitChute can do. Theoretically, this bill would be able to make this illegal, though it raises some interesting questions. How exactly do they define this? So it's unfair to do this, right? You can't do any unfair preferences. Alright, unfair preference. There's a bit of a complicated term, because YouTube is the dominant platform, using again the YouTube example. A video on YouTube is going to have a lot more views than a video on BitChute, and so Google can just shrug their shoulders and go, well, you know, the YouTube video is a lot more popular, so obviously we're going to put that on the top on the algorithm. It's not unfair, it's not preferential treatment, the YouTube video is simply more popular. Looking away from the fact that YouTube has been the dominant platform for over a decade now, and so obviously it is going to be the more popular video, and that in and of itself is unfair because they've declared practically a de facto monopoly on the market. Hell, is even worse if you look at like overall search results. Google owns something like 90 plus, like 98 or something % of search results on mobile devices. That is to the point that if mobile devices make up the majority of search results, which they seem to make, then Google, and I've used this example previous as well, could tell you that the moon is goddamn blue, and sooner or later the majority of people will believe it because the majority of search results tell them that the moon is blue. This is a ridiculous quantity of power to be in the hands of a private goddamn company, with no responsibility to anyone but their overlords at Alphabet. It is a huge problem, and hopefully this will be one of the first steps on the road to rectifying that. Again, how they're going to solve the problem with YouTube being the dominant platform and therefore is going to have more hits and therefore it's not unfair for them to put themselves at the top, well, that's going to be a bit more of a complicated problem. So don't get me wrong, this is not a solution to everything, but it is one of those bricks that has to be laid before we even can consider the more, well, the more minutiae, the more elementic and detailed level of the conversation. there's also another interesting little going on here. So, as you may know, YouTube has been rather draconian when it comes to coverage of the Voldemort virus. For a while, you couldn't even mention the word COVID without getting your video demonetized at best or straight up yeeted at worst. Right now, the rules are a bit more lenient in that you are allowed to use the dreaded Voldemort word, but you are not allowed to say certain things surrounding either the disease or the vaccine against the disease. They are strengt geheim, much verboten and all that. So, shareholders are now pressing Google and YouTube to disclose White House requests to scrub COVID-19 videos. This is rather interesting. So this is happening within, I believe, Alphabet itself. So it's shareholders in Google and YouTube, so that's the overarching company Alphabet, are pressing the tech giant to disclose any request they have received from the Biden administration to scrub politically problematic information from the platforms, according to a copy of shareholder proposal obtained by the Washington Free Beacon. So they think there has been some kind of instructions coming down from up on high to remove certain content based on God only knows what. And I wouldn't be surprised, but this shit started happening before, or Biden here got into power too. So I'm under no illusion to think that, oh poor innocent YouTube's like, oh god, we're being pressured by the US government. No. They were censorious little bastards long before that, but if there are any such requests, it would be rather damning, and well, it makes a great deal of sense too, because we do know that YouTube, well, not YouTube specifically, but big tech in general, has been a little bit nervous surrounding waves of antitrust suits, regulations, laws, and bills like this. This is not the only one by any stretch of the imagination. It has become very popular to pillory big tech, which is a lovely thing. This was even I think a Democrat-sponsored bill primarily, although it also had large Republican support. In fact, Tim Cook, the CEO of Apple, had contacted Ted Cruz, having a lengthy telephone conversation, explaining to him that, you see, if this bill passed, making it unfair to preferentially treat your own platform, well, it would just be so gosh darn difficult to make sure that people were getting what they actually wanted, you see. Because that's what Apple knows. And it's a clever little weasel wordplay as well. Well, you see, this thing is way more popular. You can't refuse us to show this thing first. Why is it popular? Is it because you've been the dominant platform for a decade? Oh, no. It's just that people really love our products, you see. Okie dokie. Apparently Ted Cruz would have none of that, and I hope that is true. I'm really interested in this, though, because I don't think there's a majority of these shows, so it might just be nothing. It might just be good old-fashioned wind, and it might amount to literally nothing. However, if we are to be a little bit optimistic again, it would also potentially serve as pretty good proof for the lawsuit and for the legislation. And depending upon the scale of this as well, so any business, so the point is in here, any business, you cannot unfairly preference the covered platform operates own product, service, or line of business over those of another business. Right, well, I'm a business. I'm a company. Well, not me personally, but I have a company. My YouTube channel is a company. So where would I stand in all of this? Because we know the YouTube algorithms heavily favor certain content based upon what is weighed, based upon the person's history, and the various flags mounted on their channel's back ends. This is beyond any real debate at this point. It's gotten so ridiculous that even GW is going like, we're being suppressed. Oh, shut your whorehole, multi-$100 million corporation. You are not being suppressed. You've turned off your comment section. If for any reason you should be suppressed, that would be why, right there. But that point aside, would this mean that would constitute unfair preference? If yes, PewDiePie is in the doghouse right now, so I doubt he's gaining any unfair treatment from the algorithm, but back in the day, he was absolutely benefiting heavily from being buddy-buddy with YouTube for a very long time. It gave him a great deal of boost, and even back in the day too, when he was straddling the algorithmic lines between continents, stuff like that. Let's say that they do have a person who is being artificially boosted. Would that then constitute the unfair preference? I mean, theoretically, that isn't their own product or service, but it is their line of business, isn't it? Their line of business, when it comes to YouTube, is pushing the maximum amount of viewers to their platform. And so if they are doing this via algorithmic magic on the back end, using Google searches or whatever, surely that would fall afoul of this, right? Theoretically. Now, proving that is a whole other thing, because even if it is all illegal, alright, then you need access to their back end. It does kind of mention this, that there should be no differentials, and there should also be some transparency. But at the end of the day, the only way this could really work is if all of the algorithm was somehow put in a trust, maybe? I don't know, because it is their IP, so you can't just take it from them and be like, this is mine now. You would have to investigate it, and it would have to be a whole team, sworn to secrecy, blah blah blah. God only knows how it would even work, but nevertheless, I am optimistic. This has been brewing for a very long time now, and as I've said every time we've covered this, this takes time. This takes a lot of time, and hell, we might end up simply getting screwed out of it all anyways. This is just one step. This isn't proper law yet. This isn't a bill even on the Senate floor, where very well, big tech might purchase half the room and get it thrown out. So, let's not celebrate yet. Let's celebrate yet. My English is faltering me today. That wasn't great either. Anywho, there's no reason to get all doomer about it either. There is progress being made. I still believe that the only true hope we have against big tech is regulation, because the only dog bigger than Google is the government. As much as we might hate that, as imperfect as a solution it might be, better the person who might fuck me than the person who is already fucking me. Until next time, I have been Arch. Thank you all very much for watching, and I hope to see you all again soon. Till then, have a good day.